Those who were bullied as kids, where are your bullies now? When I was in elementary school, I had a bully, Aya. It all started in the first grade. She was an instant popular girl because she talked about her time in Ghana. She was born and raised there up until she was 4 years old when her parents immigrated to America. I thought that was so cool because the only immigrants I have ever known were from Mexico since we lived in Texas. I asked her what life was like in Africa. She looked at me and said in a very smug voice, "A lot better than Mexico." I thought that was weird, but I let it go because we were kids at the time and I think she just wanted to be cool or something. As the year went on, she always made offhanded comments about me being Mexican and it was always directed towards me. It wasn't until the second grade when we were just learning this brand new word that we have never heard of before, racism. 7-year-old me at the time vaguely understood it because my mom taught me the words that were derogatory towards us and wanted me to be aware of them. Anyway, we were watching a cartoon about Martin Luther King Jr. and we were at a scene where the protesters were being unjustly arrested. I thought it was cruel and didn't think it was fair. Aya looked at me and shouted, "A beaner," like you would never understand. For those who don't know, the word beaner is a slur against Latin people. Sure, it's not as disgusting as the N-word, but it is a disgusting word to people like me. I was horrified at being called that in the middle of class and I looked at my teacher who just shrugged her shoulders and went back to the show. I couldn't believe it. We're learning about the civil rights movement and I was called a racial slur in front of everyone. I tried asking my teacher why she didn't say anything, but all she said was, "It's just a word, sticks and stones." I ran home in tears and told my mom everything. She was upset at first, but at the time she told me that Aya probably didn't know that word was. How wrong my mother was. For the next 4 years, Aya would throw racial slurs at me, calling me a beaner who eats nothing but beans or a wetback because I must have crossed the Rio Grande River. I begged her every single time to stop and I went to my teachers pleading with them for help, but they never did anything. She would also insult me for the way I looked, the way my hair was, and how I was bigger compared to other girls. Things got worse in the 4th grade. I was going through a rough time because my mom was dating a man who drank beer as if prohibition ended. He also smoked heavily and the smell would end up on my clothes, which added fuel for Aya's fire. Aya would always use me as an example about the dangers of smoking, pointing out how the smell was so bad that she constantly plugged her nose every time she walked by me. It led to rumors of me never taking a bath that followed me up until the end of 6th grade. At this time my mom realized Aya was a problem and tried contacting the school. All she would get was that it was just a disagreement between 2 classmates. She wrote notes for me to give to my teachers, but nothing would happen, and in the 5th grade things really took a bad toll. My grandfather passed away and his death hurt me so much that even to this day I still feel that raw pain of his passing. Word got out to my school and Aya walked up to me saying how sorry she was that my grandfather was gone. I naively thought that maybe, just maybe, she would stop being a bully and say sorry for saying racist things towards me. Nope. It's sad that he died to get away from you. I would too if I realized my granddaughter was so ugly. I broke into tears while she and a few of her friends laughed. As always, none of my teachers did anything to stop her. I told my mom, who went to my teacher and demanded that she do something about it or else she was gonna go up there and make her stop. So for the first time in the whole year, my teacher walked up to Aya and told her to stop being so mean to me. Aya looked at her and burst into tears, crying that she was being so mean. "It's because I'm black, isn't it?" Immediately my stupid teacher backed off. Aya would go on to use that phrase every time any of our teachers even attempted to do something. This is when things made a turn for the worst. In 6th grade, I used to draw anime a lot. I wasn't any good, but I practiced every single day and slowly my skills were improving. I was drawing the main cast of Sailor Moon during my free period and it was a decent first attempt, really. For once there were no stray pencil marks and I didn't have to erase as much. I left to go to the bathroom and when I came back my drawing was ruined. It had pen marks everywhere with the words beaner and wetback and permanent marker all over it. I was devastated and broke down. I worked so hard on that drawing and it was vandalized with hate. I looked over to a group of desks where Aya was sitting and I saw her laughing. She and a couple of her girlfriends were saying how funny it was that I was crying over a stupid picture and I saw that she had that stupid permanent marker on her desk. I marched up to her and yelled at her. I demanded to know why she hated me so much. I was crying and screaming when my teacher told both of us to go to the office. I thought we were finally going to solve the issue, but as always I was wrong. My principal looked at the both of us and said that I should apologize to Aya. "What?" I asked her. "Apologize to Aya for yelling at her. Just because you're upset over a drawing doesn't mean you have to yell at a classmate for it." "But she ruined my drawing. She wrote slurs all over it," I argued back. "I should point out that she even had permanent marker stains on her hands. Why aren't you telling her that you don't tolerate racism in this school? Why are you always taking her side?" I asked. "I'm not taking sides, young lady, but those are just words. Sticks and stones." That's when I realized that Aya was getting away with her racism and there was nothing I could do about it. I refused to apologize and the principal called my mom, who demanded that the principal do something about Aya, but nothing happened as always. After that incident, Aya was emboldened at the fact that she could get away with the bullying and made my life hell. She destroyed me. It was to the point where I could no longer draw again. Even to this day, if I try to draw a character I liked, I break into tears and just stop. My mom had tried everything. I developed a hatred towards my own ethnicity. I cried that I wished I was white because I hated being called those words, and I hated the way my face looked because I could see my Native American and Mexican features. She made me hate myself. The bullying only stopped after elementary school because she went to a different junior high school. Regardless, the damage of her bullying had been done. I had to go to therapy to get rid of the terrible things she said to me out of my head and slowly regain myself as a person. My family who knew of the bullying gathered around and gave me unconditional love and support, all the while telling me stories of our ancestors who started our family, and how they fled Spain during the Texas Revolution. I even went to the tribe I was descended from to help gain a better understanding of my indigenous roots, and they helped me immensely as well. Unfortunately, Aya and I ended up going to the same high school, but I avoided her like the plague because I wanted nothing to do with her or her BS. Aya was a model student, and during Black History Month, we used to have an assembly where we talked about the great black figures in history. She would always go on the podium and talk about how proud she was of her race and that we should embrace everyone of different race, religion and all that good stuff. It took all of my willpower and constant reminding of myself that what happened in elementary school was in the past. I just thought she was a piece of work. Fast forward to 2021. I was reading a book on my phone when I got a notification from someone I hadn't seen since high school. It was Aya. Now instead of feeling terrible anxiety, I just looked at it annoyed and wondered what the hell she wanted and opened it. Apparently she was hosting our elementary school reunion because the old building was being torn down in place of a new one. She was inviting everyone who went to school there so we could say goodbye to the old thing. I wanted to decline, but I thought to myself, that stupid school will be destroyed, why not spit on it or something? And then something sparked in my head. This could be my last chance to expose Aya for what she really was. Aya, the no-good racist who takes joy in other people's misery. And it wasn't just me she threw racial slurs at. She was like that to everyone. From the girl who was from Delhi to a Chinese student who ended up transferring to a different school because he couldn't take it anymore. So while having dinner with my mom, I asked her if she remembered the girl who used to bully me. She gripped her fork and said that she did remember and how much she hated that little waste of air. I asked her if she remembered going to the school many times to complain about her. She said yes, and that she had written down everything that was said. And knowing my mom, she never threw anything away because it was important documents. I decided to look into her old files and I found them. It contained the notes mom took, the hateful messages Aya wrote to me, and even my Sailor Moon drawing that had those terrible racial slurs on it. The terrible feeling of self-hatred and sorrow came back in full. I was close to tears seeing that drawing and those notes. After calming myself down, I went to work. I printed copies of the notes along with a note from my principal which said it seems that Aya called her nasty words based on her ethnicity. It was even signed by that principal, which proved two things. Aya was a racist and the school knew but refused to do anything. The little party was basically a barbecue on the school playground. Most of the alumni were actually Aya's victims, but unlike me they ignored her when she would bully them. Looking around, I actually saw some known members of our local equal rights group. I assumed she invited them because Aya made a name for herself over the years since graduation. It almost made me feel sorry for what I was going to do. And when I mean almost, I mean never. The little barbecue went by smoothly and Aya was talking about the beautiful memories she had at our old school and that she was so thankful that they welcomed her with open arms because she was an immigrant from a faraway country and was worried of not being able to belong. I remembered how proud she was when she first walked in our class, no fear at all. After her passionate farewell speech, everyone in our class took turns saying their own farewells. When it was my turn, I looked around and saw everyone staring at me. Aya was standing there with a confident smile on her face as if she thought that I was so beaten down that I would just say whatever with the school and that's it. Nope. I talked about how I was so nervous going to the school because it was something new and I knew that it would lead me to a path of adulthood. I talked about how this damn school had brought nothing but nightmares and horrible teachers. I told them about a terrible student who bullied me so much that my poor mother had to spend thousands of dollars of her life savings just to give me therapy because I could not function well. I then looked at Aya and said that she was a prime example of the American dream. An immigrant who worked tirelessly to make it in this complicated country. I then said in the same smug tone of voice she had 20 years ago, "I am so glad you grew out of your racism." With that I stood up and left. As for the notes I compiled, I sent them to that local group anonymously and told them that their star volunteer was not who she was. I just thought that would be the end of it, but I did not know of the absolute storm I caused. Aya's reputation was destroyed. When the leader of the group saw the notes, he was livid. He immediately told her that she was no longer welcomed and said that she was a terrible example for the people they were helping. Her fiancé dumped her, she lost her job, and as it turns out, her parents never knew of the bullying. I guess my principal decided that it wasn't worth calling them years ago. After sending my notes to the superintendent, my former principal apparently lost a special award she got for her contributions to our school district. He was just as livid. I got an apology from the school district along with other victims of Aya. Aya attempted to contact me soon after, demanding I apologize for ruining her life, but I just ignored her and blocked her. She had gotten what she deserved.